One day, a young man named Jivaka arrived at the Buddha's monastery. His face was a reflection of inner turmoil, his eyes heavy with fatigue, his posture slumped under the weight of invisible burdens. Jivaka was a successful merchant, yet he felt empty. His mind was clouded by frustration, anxiety, and endless questions about his life. He sat before the Buddha and poured out his heart. "Lord, I cannot bear it anymore. Why am I suffering so much? I have wealth, I have friends and family, but still I am not happy. No matter how much I achieve or gain, something is always missing. It's like I'm running in circles, and no matter what I do, I can't escape this pain. What have I done wrong? Is there a reason for my suffering?" The Buddha listened intently, his face calm and compassionate. After a moment of silence, he gently spoke. "Jivaka, tell me this. If a person is shot with an arrow, what is more important, finding the person who shot the arrow or removing it to heal the wound?" Jivaka thought for a moment, then replied, "Removing the arrow is most important, Lord. That would save the person's life." Buddha nodded. "Indeed. In the same way, your suffering is the arrow. You are trying to understand where it comes from, but what you truly need is to remove it. Once the arrow is removed, the healing can begin. But you must first recognize the source of your suffering before you can remove it." Jivaka was puzzled. "But Lord, I do not understand. What is the cause of my suffering? My life seems full, yet my heart is always aching. I want happiness, I want success, I want to be loved. Why am I punished with suffering when I only desire good things?" Buddha's face remained serene as he shared a teaching. "Long ago there was a king, much like yourself. He ruled a prosperous kingdom, with wealth and comfort at his command. Yet, despite his abundance, he was deeply troubled. He could not sleep peacefully. His heart was restless, and his mind was plagued with doubts. Nothing he had, no riches, no pleasures, no power, could ease his suffering. One day he summoned the wisest sage in his kingdom to ask the same question you now ask me. Why am I suffering? I have everything I could desire, but I am not happy. What is the cause of my pain? The sage, a wise man who had spent years in meditation, smiled at the king and replied, "Your suffering arises from your attachment to impermanent things. You believe that your happiness comes from wealth, power, and possessions. But these things are like the seasons. They come and go. What you cling to today may be gone tomorrow. When you rely on these fleeting things for your happiness, you are bound to suffer." The king, confused, asked, "What do you mean by impermanent? I have worked hard to gain everything I have. It is mine. How can this cause suffering?" The sage responded, "All things in life, wealth, health, relationships, even your own body, are impermanent. They are like clouds drifting through the sky. You cannot hold on to them forever. The more you cling to them, the more pain you will feel when they change, as they inevitably will." The king, still bewildered, asked, "Then what should I do? If I cannot control the world around me, how can I find peace?" The sage replied, "You must learn to see the world as it truly is. Understand that suffering is born from attachment and desire. When you desire something, whether it's wealth, recognition, or love, you create an expectation that it will bring you happiness. But when that desire is not fulfilled, or when it is fulfilled only temporarily, you experience pain. This is the root of suffering. To free yourself, you must learn to let go of these attachments and live with acceptance of the present moment. Understand the nature of impermanence, and you will find peace." The king, with newfound understanding, began to practice the teachings. Slowly he realized that the less he clung to his desires, the more peaceful his heart became. He stopped seeking happiness outside of himself and began to cultivate it within. Buddha paused, allowing Jivaka to reflect on the story. After a few moments, Jivaka asked, "Lord, does this mean I should give up all my desires and live without ambition or purpose?" Buddha smiled softly and replied, "No, Jivaka. It is not about abandoning all desires. It is natural to have desires, to want happiness and success. But the problem arises when you become attached to those desires, when you believe that your happiness is dependent on them. There is a difference between wanting something and being attached to the outcome. If you do not get what you desire, can you still be at peace? If you lose what you have gained, will your mind remain calm?" Jivaka pondered this deeply and asked, "But how can I let go of my attachments? How do I find peace when the world around me is constantly changing?" The Buddha replied, "The path to peace lies in mindfulness and understanding. First, observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. When a desire arises, notice how it makes you feel. Does it create anxiety, restlessness, or fear? Become aware of the impermanence of everything in your life. Understand that nothing lasts forever, and embrace this truth rather than resisting it. Practice mindfulness in your daily life. Whether you are walking, eating, or working, be fully present in each moment. As you cultivate awareness, you will begin to see how your mind clings to certain outcomes and resists others. When you become aware of this clinging, you can gently let go without forcing it. Over time, you will find that your suffering diminishes and peace takes its place. Jivaka, now filled with a sense of clarity, bowed before the Buddha and said, "Thank you, Lord. I see now that my suffering does not come from the world outside, but from within my own mind. I will begin to practice what you have taught me." Buddha blessed Jivaka and said, "Remember, the path to freedom is not a quick one, but with patience, mindfulness, and compassion toward yourself and others, you will find the peace you seek."